Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott Hines with the Federation of Americans for Consumer Choice. Pleased to present today's webinar featuring Epic Services. We've got Rosalie and Carter today, and Carter will be giving the presentation. I'll be doing Carter's introduction here in just a moment, but I wanted to start off by introducing Kim O'Brien, who will just talk a little bit more about FAC. She, of course, for those of you out there that don't know, although it looks like a lot of friendlies out in the audience, she's the CEO of FAC. She is the champion, of course, of independent insurance professionals and the consumer's right to real choice in annuities and asset protection products, life, long-term care. With decades of experience as an entrepreneur, industry advocate, I've worked with her for almost 15 years now myself, and one of the leading authorities in the space. She has helped shape model laws, regulations, public policy, and strengthened a fair and well-regulated marketplace for everyday Americans, and known for her energy, enthusiasm, and expressions. I'll throw that in there as well. Please let me welcome Kim O'Brien, FAC's CEO.
Hi, thank you, Scott. Everybody, we're really thrilled to have this presentation for you today. They gave a presentation at our IMO Summit, IMO and BGA Summit. We call it the Independence Summit, and it was a big hit. So if you haven't been exposed to Epic, you will today, and it's so wonderful to have them here and share their time and their knowledge with us. Before I turn it back to you, Scott, I do want to let you know FAC has been very, very busy, extremely busy. We had our brief due in our litigation. We had to coordinate with the joint trades people because they had to put their brief in as well. And as you know, when you coordinate with multiple trades, it is very time consuming, but very, very worthwhile project because we wanted to make sure we hit the right note and the right arguments on those briefs. That brief went in, and we will be sending it out to our members in our newsletter for November. We've also been busy with DC because the District of Columbia came out with their best interest, and while they tried to do a very good job, I'm sure the effort was well-meaning. They just missed a lot of important elements that are important to independent insurance professionals to make sure you're protected and it's a workable situation for you. Many may not be in the DC space, but we do have a number of IMOs who work in the federal space, and this was a very important piece of legislative. Oh, it's rulemaking, it's not legislative. And we've been working very hard to get those elements in, and our trades have been very, very responsive to us. So, hey, you got it. There you go. We're also working with the state of Washington on their long-term care initiative. We want to make sure that more products that we know of, hybrids and the riders, are also included in that consideration because we know a lot of Americans can't always afford or don't have the health situation to be able to buy long-term care insurance. So we want to make sure those products are recognized as well. Right now, these are our 2025 advocacy priorities on the screen, and our mission, which we really believe in, which is really to serve independent distribution. And right now, our board of directors serves over 200 IMOs and BGAs in the annuity, long-term care, and life space. Scott and I are actively working. We have a board meeting this afternoon. We'll have the 2026 initiative done very shortly. So that's all very good. And we're just thrilled to be here every day working for independent distribution, and also thrilled, of course, to have Epic on the phone today, on the video, or whatever we call this, the webinar, I guess, today to share their very good information. So, Scott, handing it back to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kim. Absolutely. As Kim mentioned, Carter, Rosalie, and their team were amazing at our 2025 Innovation Summit in Milwaukee, and of course, thrilled to welcome them back today. Carter is the founder and CEO of Epic Services for nearly 2 decades. He's been helping top financial advisors around the country deliver safe retirement solutions and grow their practices, all while, of course, serving a record number of families, sitting at real dinner tables with real households. Carter saw a major gap. People weren't just at risk of outliving their savings. Again, it's one we're all very familiar with. They were also at risk of leaving behind a confusing and mishandled legacy. So we set out to change that, partnering with leading financial planners, software engineers, and marketers to create estate plan portfolio and OEPT, an outsourced estate planning team that helps families get white glove end-to-end support for their estate and legacy planning needs. And of course, here we go. Please help me welcome once again Carter Wilcoxon. Thank you very much.
Scott, thank you so much. And first of all, I just want to thank Kim and FAC for not only inviting us to Milwaukee a few months back. I guess it's been almost 6 months now. It was a phenomenal opportunity. Got a chance to meet a lot of great people that are doing a lot of amazing work in this world that we're all living in. And with a little over 2 decades now total of being in that independent distribution channel space myself, it was just such a great honor to be asked to come in and speak in front of everybody. So today, our theme is escaping the sea of sameness. Arguably, in the insurance advisory space, insurance agent, financial advisory space, super competitive, right? And talking about the sea of sameness, I said that quote to Rosalie, and she's like, I think that's a perfect theme, because what we're really trying to help establish with the different independent distribution channel partners that we work with that regularly are recruiting to our platform is to help advisors help more people and to provide an end-to-end estate planning solution by delivering what we call the 3 E's, where we educate, enlighten, and empower a room full of people, typically in the mass affluent demographic that are arguably the most underserved when it comes to the subject matter. So I was saying to Rosalie, I said, really the advisors that are out there, they're living in the sea of sameness, and we're trying to help them create a proprietary process that they can be able to plug right into without them having to create their own infrastructure. So thank you again, FAC, for allowing us to come on today. Go ahead and change the slides for me, Scott. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about what is the trust investment advisor status. That's primarily going to be more applicable to those of you in the securities world, Series 65, standardizing TIA inside a completed plan, and how we do that to help improve AUM retention and ultimately enterprise value. Our OEPT model, it's basically becomes your in-house estate planning solution for advisors, clients, without having to add any additional overhead. Epic's complete ecosystem with our go-to-market strategy. Our enablement via our Epic University just recently launched. It was a summer project that was probably 4 months in the making, and very excited that we just officially rolled that out to all of our Epic advisors recently. That is not only a necessary university to go through, but also required in order to protect the process that we have for advisors to help understand what it is that we're doing. So the playbooks, OEPT best practices, workshops, playbooks as well. So competitive advantage. So why the partial solutions from big organizations that a lot of you are competing against sometimes? I know we're in this kumbaya scenario here today, but there's a lot of big organizations out there that leave gaps, and we want to help to show you a way to have a complete system win. And then obviously some proof points, Epic advisors, some client success that we have with our go-to-market strategy. So next slide. And to touch on that just real fast, 30 minutes, I think we'll be able to get through this fairly quickly. I think we'll open it up a little bit of Q&A here at the end. We want to, make that available for those who have questions. I know that Rosalie is going to be monitoring the chat box too, if you want to drop some questions in there as well. So let's talk about the importance of TIA status. Most people don't even know in this world, whenever you talk about revocable living trust, what TIA even means. But it goes back to what I have learned over the last 8 years on why you want to utilize what we call jurisdictional shopping, why every one of our plans defaults to using Nevada as the body of law that's recognized. And inside of the codified laws within Nevada is something called the trust investment advisor, where we literally write in the trust investment advisor to retain those assets in perpetuity. And if there's any type of a challenge, again, the reason why we use Nevada is because any challenge, they would have to go to petition the courts of Nevada. But the TIA status really does differentiate and help to build enterprise values for advisors who are looking to one day sell their practice. But also, it really comes down to client acquisition, client retention, and generational control. So the value that provides is critically, is a huge benefit for advisors who learn about how we utilize that component. Next slide. So our OEPT solution. So I want to highlight our chief counsel, Sierra Lister, who is a member of the Nevada Bar. Her team meets with every single client when they go through our digital process and platform for customization. And then we have a dedicated onboarding specialist that every advisor's clients will meet with, that'll go through the initial onboarding modules, again, all through through our digital platform that we have. And then I also want to highlight a very necessary piece. In order to do the things that we do, you have to have what's called Nexus. And inside of every single one of our documents, we have our strategic partner, Crawford Trust Company, who is a Nevada corporate trustee that's named in every single one of those documents, that gives us that nexus. And the reason why all of those, where we cite us each one of those trusts, are in Nevada, and Sierra Lister, being a member of the Nevada Bar, meets, or her team meets with every single client for the customization. That nexus that gives us the ability to do this very unique platform, where, going back to the previous slide, where that trust investment advisor can be named in there to retain those assets in perpetuity when we're leaving assets in trust. So so Sierra and her team, she's also a member of the Florida Bar as well, and a key component to the success of our model that we've built out over the last 8 years. Next slide. So turnkey go-to-market strategy for advisors. So sort of like left to right, I'll start off with, a very comprehensive go-to-market strategy. I say this on a regular basis. It all begins and ends with client acquisition. There's a lot of phenomenal solutions in the marketplace today, a lot of innovation. Long-term care, Kim O'Brien brought that up, trying to, to legislatively get into Washington to consider some of these hybrids that are out there. I know that there's a lot of phenomenal products, and you got to go to each one of these states to get it approved. California is really challenging. I know New York's been challenging for a lot of product, innovation and developments. But at the end of the day, product is not the unmet need in this industry. There's plenty of product to go around. But what you have to have first and foremost, before you can implement any type of a risk or tax mitigation solution, you have to have the clients. And by leading with estate planning, to be able to dedicate your focus on delivering what we call the 3 E's, where you educate, enlighten, and empower a room full of people, that ultimately goes to the conversion aspect with our estate plan portfolio, very streamlined client onboarding procedure, with all of the support that each advisor is going to need to have, without having to worry about any type of unauthorized practice of law. The support is there all along the way. The advisor is simply the relationship manager. Our team facilitates everything from end to end. And then ultimately that journey is about elevating the client experience, which ultimately leads to what I call introductions. A lot of times we talk in this industry about asking for referrals. Well, referrals are good, but they're not great. What's great is being introduced to like-minded households that you're already part of, where they are now able to introduce you because you look like the hero of the story, especially in the mass affluent demographic, who for all too long have grown to hear that estate planning really is for the ultra uber wealthy. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. So obviously the marketing on the left side here is all about creating customizable assets, presentations that are personalized to each one of our Epic advisors. We're co-branding these things where we become that entire solution. So the go-to-market strategy is not only the marketing and branding that we do, but it's also getting triple-digit registrations, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit, but where we enable all of this, again, the necessary and required training to be able to come out to be certified through Epic University is a key component in how we're able to scale 10, 100, 1,000 advisors at one time to be able to go through those modules. Next slide, please. So this enablement through Epic University, just to get a little bit deeper into this, it provides essential training, right, for very rapid onboarding so that we ensure that there's confidence from not only the advisor, but also the understanding of who plays what roles and where they play them and what role that they will play as well, without them having to feel like they need to know everything around this subject matter that is very top of mind for their end user, prospects that they're looking to want to help facilitate and ultimately get money in motion, whether that be assets under management, life insurance, long-term care, annuities, whatever the case may be. So they're going to get best practices in the estate planning best practices to reinforce all of our strategies, enhancing that advisor-client interaction and ultimately successful outcomes. It is comprehensive curriculum. The curriculum includes Estate Planning 101, covering fundamental concepts and practices essential for each Epic advisor success. And then the modular training, which is the powerful aspect of this, is doing it at your own pace. It's not feeling like you have to fly somewhere and you have to learn all this. This is literally every Epic advisor, when they adopt our platform and they purchase one of our go-to-market strategies that we cultivate and create all of these personalized websites and customization. When they go through that, they automatically get access to Epic University, which on the front end, if you wanted to go through it yourself, it's a $7,000 cost, but every Epic advisor, when they're part of our mission, they would automatically get access to that to be able to go through the necessary and required training. So next slide, please. So a competitive advantage, I mentioned it earlier. Everybody on this call today, you are all in a very competitive situation. Every IMO, BGA, FMO, RIA, whatever you want to look about it, but especially in the insurance world, you all have essentially all the same products, but you need something that can differentiate you and your recruiting opportunities, which is why Epic was created and built, for not only to be able to give some of these smaller boutique operations a leg up against, and I've got a few names here, some names that you guys know, some very high-end organizations that are out there, basically the lion's share of the business of recruits. I wanted to give, as someone who's been in that more boutique operation myself, when I divested from my own IMO that I started about 12 years ago to really expand Epic's reach, it was with the intention of giving access to these other smaller organizations that wanted to help to differentiate them in their recruiting efforts and to give them the tools that they needed by partnering with Epic. And it's been so successful that a few of our advisory firms, our FMOs and BGAs that we're working with right now, who have fully adopted this, are believe in it so much that they're buying the packages that normally advisors had been purchasing themselves, just by simply because they're doing business with them, whether that they're doing business with Athene, North American, Equitrust, some of the usual suspects, National Life Group, Allianz, whatever the case may be. They're recruiting to this because they see this as a way to enhance and grow their practice and help to differentiate them on something that's completely turnkey that Epic has built out. So marketing and branding, white glove support, attorney customization, right? Not cookie cutter. Every single one of our households, of the advisors, when they go through the process, we customize and personalize their distribution plans and everything else. So the conversion strategy, what we call the estate plan portfolio, and then ultimately transitioning into the training that's necessary and required with Epic University. Next slide, please. So let me just share a couple of very recent success stories. Now, some of you may be looking at these numbers and thinking these are impossible, or this must have cost an arm and a leg. But I want to position this in a way if you were going to be talking to someone you're trying to recruit to write business with you, whether that's a Theme or a Nexus business or whatever it is, and you know it's a super competitive industry that's out there, right? What makes you different is what I thought about myself whenever I started my own IMO. What's going to differentiate me? But I took it one step further and I thought to myself, well, how am I going to differentiate the advisors that are in that super competitive space? So what ends up happening is we built this entire infrastructure over the last 8 years, and these are two of the most recent adopters of our platform, inviting the mass affluent demographic to come to an educational workshop. We don't feed people. We might give them a bottle of water, at the most, a clipboard, and some paperwork that we hand out. We ended up getting, and I want to reframe this as, if you looked at this as just as leads from an advisor's perspective, and if you asked an advisor, an insurance agent, if I could get you 224 or 290 exclusive leads that registered to talk to you specifically, right? They know they want to talk to you, and they are highly qualified because of the subject matter of what they opted in themselves to. If you just got 225 qualified exclusive leads that already knew your name, what would that be worth? Just as a lead. Go forward one more step. We're obviously inviting them to come to an educational venue, an educational workshop, an hour and 15 max time limit. So these are just two of our most recent in the last 3 weeks of advisors who have fully adopted our platform and our process. Over 200 plus, almost 300 in one instance. And I'll give you the areas that these were in. One of them was in Arlington, Texas, and one of them was in Columbia, Missouri. So we're not even talking about big major metropolises here necessarily, right? So these were the amount of buying units, the people that raised their hand. I want to have a meeting, an appointment, right? And then we've trained the advisor on how to take them through the complimentary consultation right into the conversion tool, what we call the estate plan portfolio. So just two successful stories that I wanted to share with you. The crazy part about this is that both of these campaigns were $3,500. That's how much it costs to get these types of results. Next slide, please. So here's my quote, and we'll kind of finish and maybe do a little bit of Q&A, but if you want a full pipeline without burning out, right? And if you lead with estate planning, it literally changes everything. And I'm talking 8 years of proven, field-tested process that helps advisors without doing any heavy lifting, any additional overhead that you have to worry about, the ability to have a systematic way to get clients or prospects to become clients that ultimately leads to all the things you want to do on the back end. And again, whether that's life insurance, annuities, or assets under management. So next slide. And I think this is the last one. Yes. Thank you, FAC, again. And obviously we started out with thanking you. This is all my contact information. If you want to have a deeper discussion, we're going to maybe answer a few questions that we have up here, just real quickly. But if you want to have a direct conversation with me about more specifics about this, if you want me to drop you into my post-event campaign, put in your email or schedule time with me, that is my direct cell phone number. You can text me, and I will be more than happy to put you into my drip marketing campaign, and I will give you all the information that you want. And then obviously for you techies out there, there is the QR code to also schedule time with me, 15, 30, or an hour, however much time you need. So with that, I'm all done. Rosalie Perkins, let me go ahead and hand it over to you and see if we've got anything that we need to address.
Yeah, thanks, Carter. I did see one come through the chat so far, and this might have just been from the Trust Investment Advisor slide, so we want to clear some things up here. S. Ellis asked, did I understand you to say one has to be a registered rep to qualify? Financial professionals cannot.
Okay, so let me clarify that. For the customization or the directive, as we call it, inside the documents, I can't name an insurance agent a trust investment advisor. So in order to name you in the documents as the trust investment advisor, and the benefit and the value to that is obviously when you train the advisors the way that we do, and you're helping advisors train or teach the clients that outright distribution does not make sense. You want to keep these assets in trust, essentially creating trust funds. By naming you as a trust investment advisor, that retains those assets in perpetuity because you already have the relationship with what we call the grantor or the creator, right? And if they really want you to stay the advisor, even whenever they're gone, the trust investment advisor is where we name you, literally write you into the document to retain those assets. So that way you're going to be able to maintain those assets. So when your best clients die, outright distribution is not going to happen and you're going to be able to retain those in perpetuity. But in order to give the estate planning educational events, you can be anybody. You could be someone on the street. There's no registration or any regulation in order to deliver what we call the 3 E's, where you educate, enlighten, and empower advisors or clients around this subject matter. Hopefully that clears that up. And then Rosalie, do we have any other questions?
I didn't see any other questions,
We do.
but did we? Okay. Well, that
Yes.
was hidden for me. Thanks.
No,
Scott.
it's okay. It's absolutely, if you'd like. I mean, we also have that Q&A panel. I don't know if you can see it, Rosalie, but one came in through there. Before I get to it, though,
Thanks.
Carter, and in preparation for this webinar, I know I talked to Rosalie, so the comments you made about differentiation are huge and appreciated for this audience today. For those that weren't and didn't have the benefit, and they should certainly join us next fall, but at the Independent Summit, a great question came up that I think speaks to what you did. And I'm going to try to characterize the question, but you had that slide that had the entire team, and there was a question that was asked around misrepresentation with respect to an advisor putting that on their website, or maybe not their website, but however that process works. The folks that are participating in this program actually get access to that ecosystem if memory serves. And that was a question, again, that came from one of our carrier or IMO partners in July, correct?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that question up again. Everything that I've done, everything that I've developed over the last 8 years, I put myself in the shoes of a prospect, right? But as someone who's been in this industry for the better part of 2 decades and working with, as an advisor to advisors, I wanted to try to bring the two together, right? What do advisors need? They need clients. And what's the best way to do that? Well, when I put myself in the shoes of a prospect, and I know that these, especially independent insurance agents who are out there, quote unquote, working out of the trunk of their car or Regis office or whatever the case may be, I needed to help you look bigger than you were. So the multidisciplinary team approach that we have, these become your team members. Everybody is part of the team. They will meet with them in one capacity or another when they go through it. So these aren't just like random people no, these become part of your essentially family office team, like a virtual family office team. Your dedicated onboarding specialist and her team, they'll meet. The attorney they meet with, right? These are part of now your team to do one thing very critically important. From the purview of a prospect, especially whenever we're marketing this, which is why we average triple-digit registrations at educational venues, is intentional. We redirect them on the landing pages to go to your About page automatically. The very first thing they're going to see is you circled by the team of people that are part of this entire program, that are part of every single aspect of it. So these aren't misrepresenting anybody and trying to make you look bigger than you are without the actual team members. They're all part of your team, but without you having to hire and have any additional overhead. That should be pretty powerful. I mean, it has been. In fact, I had an advisor tell me, Carter, when I saw that, we call it the team roster internally. When I saw that, Carter, he goes, I was in. That's awesome. Now, the team roster, sometimes you do have some staff. We just blend in our team with your team. That's all that we do, right? It's really, really simple, not complicated, all part and intentional of the marketing and the branding. When we say go-to-market strategy, 45 to 60 days from the time our Epic advisors become an Epic advisor, which means they purchased one of our packages, you will be fully trained, standing in front of a room full of people that want to hear about this subject matter because, and we know this statistically, we've already done all the data over the last 8 years, because we made you look like you weren't just a one-man or one-woman show. We made you appear to be an authority in this arena that helps to win that client before they even show up. Do we have any other questions?
No, I've got one more. That was my question. I think that came from one of our attorneys over in July, and I just wanted to make sure that the folks heard that one. But the question that comes up next, it was asked about quarter of the way through the presentation. It's a couple-parter here, but how does building in the TIA help a trustee fulfill the fiduciary duty to the beneficiaries? And the second part of that question is, are advisors making money from this if they are not licensed attorneys, and how does that work?
So those are really, really great questions. I have to go way, way deeper in that. And unfortunately, we don't have that time. But please do me a favor. I want to talk about that. I could talk for an hour specifically on that question or those two-part questions. Please schedule time with me. Get on my calendar. I want to address that specifically with you, especially if you are an RIA or an IAR. I need to talk specifically about that fiduciary obligation because you have to have all the components. The short answer is you have to have all the components, and you need to have a fiduciarily responsible third-party entity that is going to be the successor trustee, not the trust investment advisor is not going to be the successor trustee, but we can get way deeper into the weeds with that. Please schedule time with me. I would love to have that conversation.
It's hard to pack in 8 years of experience into a quick answer. They did also touch, Carter, on, just the unauthorized practice of law. And of course, that's where our in-house network attorney comes into play because she is meeting with the clients. We are making sure that all of our advisors through Epic University are trained and know how to bounce those questions back to the attorney. So if they are getting anything that, might fall into more of a legal question, they know to say, hey, save that question for when you meet with my, in-house attorney, and she'll be able to address those for you.
Yeah, that was very intentional also. Being in this industry for as long as I have been, especially in the insurance industry, you hear about trust mills and American Investors had a big scandal with them like years ago. And early on when we were first developing this, that was usually the very first question. Well, I'm really worried about unauthorized practice of law. Well, this is attorney driven, attorney customization. You are simply a facilitator. You're not doing anything that's outside of your scope of knowledge and experience in order to be able to ultimately facilitate to get the clients into the initial onboarding procedure where they'll be talking with a dedicated onboarding specialist, paralegal that's going to ultimately get them into the attorney aspect of that. So you can always default to, that's a great question. I'm not an attorney. Our attorney will speak with you about that. Even if you think it might blur the lines, we give you the permission to know that you don't have to worry ever about unauthorized practice of law. In fact, Rosalie, if you remember, we had an advisor that it was the reason why he decided to start working with us in Texas. You remember what I'm talking about, right? And you're muted.
Absolutely. Right? Yes, that was a huge concern of his. And like you said, I think I have that one recorded. That is the reason he started working with Epic.
Yeah, because he started looking at the statutes and the state of Texas where he's at, and unauthorized practice of law. But here's the deal, everybody. I just want to share something with you. This is absolutely the way to go. The reason why you've got Charles Schwab investing in wealth.com, the reason why you have Trust and Will, who's raised $73 million, they're going to advisors right now and saying, implement estate planning. So this is commonplace. The fear of unauthorized practice of law, if there was any longer, has been abated, especially taking into consideration the way that we take clients to the educational process and then ultimately the customization, where they're literally meeting, albeit virtually, with an attorney who's going to handle all of those components, right? So just know it's no different than traditionally speaking how advisors had some relationship with an attorney locally. Maybe it was 3 of them. Well, here, I'll just give you this number or this name, and I've worked with this attorney before to get your estate plan in order. But the problem is there's a huge disconnect there. You're not part of that process. With us, you're the relationship manager. That's all that you are. But it helps you connect, and the connection is the critical piece. When advisors connect with the clients the way that they do with our procedure, it leads through this discovery process under very, very favorable circumstances to ultimately help those clients and those gaps, especially in the insurance framework that they see. And that's where adopting long-term care, that's where adopting annuities, that's where adopting, IUL gives that opportunity. And because you were part of the process, but you weren't doing all the heavy lifting, you can stay in your lane that you love to stay in, which is just relationship building. If I've talked to, one advisor, I've probably talked to 2,000. And the common theme is this: you are phenomenal at building and cultivating relationships. What you're not good at is marketing and branding. And with the automation capabilities that we have, and like with AI, our team facilitates on the front end the marketing and branding tools necessary to help you acquire and win what I call the relationship war, again, in that mass affluent demographic, sorely underserved. And then our team facilitates end to end. When they come out on the other end, you know everything about these households. You know about their fears, their concerns, their beneficiaries, their assets, where they're all located. You know everything about them, right? The greatest discovery tool on the planet. I want to go back to talking about this though. I just had this conversation with an advisor yesterday in Florida, and he said to me, he said, Carter, I hope less people adopt your platform. I'm hoping less people adopt it because it is my differentiator now. And he said to me, I fear having to go back to the way I used to do marketing and branding to get clients. I never want to go back to what I was doing before. So I'm just saying this: if it's not going to be you, if it's not going to be your advisors, it's going to be somebody, because wealth.com, Vanilla, Trust and Will, my quote unquote competitors who can't come close to our comprehensive packaging and OEPT process, they are all promoting this now, but they're trying to do it through the LPLs and the Highlands of the world, or Cambridges and Commonwealth. They're trying to do it through that distribution channel. This is your opportunity in the IMO, FMO, BGA world that you've all been a part of, and I have been too for the last 20 years, is the opportunity to recruit advisors, retain advisors, and give them the opportunity to write more business with you, which ultimately helps the bottom and the top line. So do we have any other questions other than that?
No more questions.
Kim, did you have anything that you wanted to ask? I know you usually jump in once or twice, but that's all that we have from the Q&A panel, Patrick, as well as the chat window.
Perfect. Kim, I know that hopefully you're still there and you're
am.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, first of all, I want to say thank you again. I'd never been to Milwaukee before, so I got to check one thing off my, another new city off my bucket list, which I've probably been more places in Europe than I have been in cities that I've missed. But it was really awesome to get a chance to speak there, and thank you again for allowing us to come in here and educate, enlighten, and empower your audience as well today.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, I was just getting a call from one of our many lawyers we work with. You're so welcome, and I don't have any questions, only because this is probably above my pay grade on this entire topic and what you're doing, which is why we need all of us in this industry working together, the minds like you have for these kinds of innovative tools, and of course our minds on the advocacy side. So we all work together, and the better we are, the better we work together, the better we are. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate all of you. Thanks, Scott, too, for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Thanks, Rosalie, and again,
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
All right.
And
Thank you all.
call Carter if you have any other questions that need a deeper dive, okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
So I'm ending